It has been a wonderful start to the new year. It is 2024. We are looking into the 2024 College Football Championship between Michigan and Washington. And man, oh man, this year's college football playoffs has gifted us with two of the best semifinal games that we could have possibly imagined. I mean, hands down, I cannot remember any games in the semis that were as fun, as dramatic as these two. We had an overtime finish in the Michigan Alabama game, and we had a near overtime game, well, or last minute win against Texas, but just a final second thriller in the Washington Texas game. So could not have asked for two better games. I truly think we are going to be gifted with another special game this Monday for the national championship. But man, Seth, I know you appreciate it as much as I did, but what did you think of those two games? And if you had any takeaways from each one, let me know.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I can't tell you the last time we've had, or if we've ever had, two college football playoff games come down to the wire, be super crazy the whole game like that. I thought we were going to have another Miami Georgia Tech situation with the Washington game where it seemed like they could have nailed it out, but I'm very glad they didn't, because they gave us a game that I will remember forever. Both games were phenomenal. Alabama, Michigan, I think one of the best football games I've watched in the last 10 years. And kind of like you said, the national championship, I can't wait. It's one of, the last several years, I feel like we've had games where we kind of know what's going to happen, what to expect. Here, I really don't.
Right. I mean, me too. And there's a lot of different things. And so what we're going to do tonight, we're going to walk through this game. We're going to preview it a little bit, give some key stats that we think are going to be important to it, give our model projection for the game, which will be an interesting conversation in itself. I follow a lot of people. I do my own modeling, and I follow a lot of people who do their own modeling and who are very respected in the industry as well. And I must say, this has to be one of the highest variance model output games that I've seen, in my opinion. No model output has been the same. The biggest range in projections that I've seen in a long time, if ever. So that will be a fun conversation in itself. We are going to kick off the show, walk through the matchup, and do our thing, give the big game breakdown, give our favorite picks, because of course we like to bet a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's not a conversation without a little bit of sports betting talk here and there. So give our favorite bets for this game and give who we think is going to walk away the crown champion of the final 4-game college football playoff format. My goodness, I've enjoyed it, but I'm ready to see it go. So,
yeah.
All right, hey, no time wasted. We have 4 days until the game. Washington, Michigan. Michigan, we just saw them out physical one of the more physical teams in college football. We saw them out coach one of the best coach that college football has ever seen in Nick Saban. So they are truly a special team outside of all of the allegations that they've had to face. I know that they cheated, but you think about it, they weren't allowed to cheat. They were under a microscope in this game, so they still, without being able to cheat, were able to beat Alabama. And I think that deserves some credit in itself. So Michigan, super impressed by them and their ability to develop players. They are actually a team that's outside of the top 12 in terms of total composite recruiting rankings. So they have proven that you can develop players and mold them into the talent that you need them to be. And you don't have to have a top 5 recruiting class to make it to the Natty. So good on them for that as well. One thing that I saw with Michigan that I loved and appreciated from a X's and O's and a coaching standpoint, Michigan predominantly runs 12 personnel, 1 running back, 2 tight end sets. They got away from that and ran the majority of their plays in 11 tight end sets, or 11 personnel sets, 1 running back, 1 tight end. They did this seemingly to spread out Alabama's defense, to open up their box to allow their runners to still have success in the running game. So I was really impressed with Michigan's ability to get out of their comfort zone and scheme up plays that would allow them to further their chances to win the game.
Mhm.
They're not going to be the hard-headed guys who stick to the script and stick to the old school running game and what they know and what they do. They are willing to step out and make adjustments. So good for Michigan for doing that. That's something that really caught my eye when I went back and watched some film. So really impressed with that team. Now, if we flip it over to Washington, one thing, before the game, one thing that I harped on, Washington's biggest strength was going against Texas's biggest weakness, and they exploited that to the maximum. Michael Penix and their wide receiver core just made fools out of Texas's secondary. Michael Penix is special. Truly one of the best arm talents that college football has ever seen. Certainly the best arm talent that the Pac-12 has seen. I mean, I would go as far as even say that. So, at Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
But a truly special game. And we've seen with Washington's receivers, when they're all healthy, they're unstoppable. Their 50-50 balls are more like 70-30 balls. It's truly amazing what they're able to do and how talented they are. Their run game has definitely taken a step forward. Dylan Johnson got hurt at the end of the game. You mentioned something about them, like a potential Georgia Tech, Miami kind of thing, but he did get injured on that play. However, he is expected to play, according to some reports I saw from The Athletic. So that will be good. He's escalated himself up into a really, really solid running back for this Washington team. Washington continues to lean into their offensive strength, albeit a really, really struggling defensive unit. So we got a couple fun matchups to talk about there. I will go ahead and drop my model projection. This game is at a pick even. According to my projections. It's right around where Vegas has it totaled. So the projection is 28-28. Some minor decimal points here. If you look at the decimal points, Michigan has them by like 0.02 or something like that.
Nice.
So pick even. The total is right around where Vegas would total it. And, well, actually, before I get into any of the numbers, Washington plus 4.5 in this game. The over-under is sitting at 55.5. This could be the game of a lifetime. With that information, with the numbers, the model, with Vegas, all those lines, tell me what you think. Tell me what you're feeling for this game. Let me know who you have winning. Let me know who you have covering.
Okay. First, I want to harp on what you said. Penix has shown the ability to be one of the best quarterbacks in all of college football. I have been absolutely impressed with what he does. He seems to thread the needle every time. He puts the ball exactly where it needs to go. And to be fair, again, we were against Washington at several points of the season in the big games they played. We doubted them. And then we finally rode with them in the college football playoffs. And I'm pretty sure we got a little flack from that on our last post. But yeah, shout out Penix, shout out Washington. They have been awesome. And then again, I also want to give J.J. McCarthy his flowers. I have not been a huge fan of J.J. McCarthy. I don't think he was necessarily a huge essential piece of the team just because of how much they rely on their rush game and how good Corum is. But man, McCarthy showed up, and every time they needed that big play, he got it done. So I want to shout him out. He played an awesome game. The first play of the game was a little worrisome when we thought he threw that interception, but they got bailed out. Other than that, McCarthy was phenomenal. And okay, sorry, I got off tangent a little bit, but so for Washington plus 4.5, I think I'm going to take Washington. I doubted them. The team of destiny,
baby.
I am, but I'm not saying they're going to win. I think it's going to be kind of like your model. It's kind of a toss in the hat. So I think the safer place to take the points when you don't know which way to really lean, because I think it should be kind of like a pick 'em. But I'm going to take Washington plus 4.5 outright. I think Michigan wins. I could see a 30-27 final.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of what happens in this game, I truly hope that it's like it comes down to the last second.
It has to.
Whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Whether it's a field goal, whether it's an overtime, whether they make it all the way to triple overtime and they get into the 2-point conversions.
Yeah.
Whatever it may be, I truly hope that this game ends at the last second. And I think it will. I think it definitely has the chance. It certainly has the makings for it. Let's get into some of the matchup issues. last week, two things that stuck out. One of them, Washington, we already talked about this, really exposed Texas's secondary. I think Michigan's secondary would be a little bit stronger, so I can expect them to put up a little bit more of a fight, but I still think Washington's receivers are going to have their way at times. Certainly Michael Penix will. Another matchup to note, Washington's offensive line was an award-winning unit this year. We just saw Michigan put up 8 sacks against Jalen Milroe. 8 sacks. Washington allowed just 11 sacks their entire regular season. So, now to note this too, I need to give some credit. Well, credit's not the word. Alabama, at the first half of the season, they graded as one of the worst pass rushing offensive lines in the league. They certainly cleaned up later in the season and did a lot better, but this unit, the offensive line unit for Alabama, was not their typical Nick Saban, Alabama-esque offensive line. So they had holes, especially when we look at the roster and how they performed at the beginning of the season. But Michigan's defensive line certainly deserves the credit for that game and how they performed all season. They're a really strong unit, really talented if you look at, recruiting rankings alone. But some of the advanced metrics would say that a couple of these pass rushers are some of the best in the Big Ten, if not the best. So that's going to be a matchup to watch for me. The Washington offensive line versus Michigan defensive line. I don't think Michigan will be able to find the success against Washington's offensive line that they found against Bama, but I think they'll be able to pressure Washington a little bit more than what Texas did. Texas certainly did not have a bad defensive line. They had a really solid unit, one of the better ones in the Big 12, but they weren't world beaters, but they weren't bad by any means. They were really, really solid. So those are the two highlighted matchups that I have kind of pinned up in this thing. I'm not gonna, sugarcoat this. I think we all know Washington has the better offense. Now, the thing is that Michigan has a very, very solid offensive unit themselves, and they can certainly keep up. So they're efficient enough. They are actually 9th overall in adjusted offensive success rate, 3rd overall in EPA margin, which actually beats out Washington. Washington is 8th overall in EPA margin, but Washington is one of the best teams in terms of offensive success rate, sitting at 5th overall, 4th in the passing game. So, again, no offense has been more consistently successful than Washington. So I certainly expect them to have their way at times. The big thing that we've been talking about all year has been their defense. And it shows. They are 99th overall in all of FBS in terms of adjusted defensive success rate. And that really shows up in the running game. And what does Michigan specialize in? The running game. So that's my biggest concern for this Washington Huskies team. Looking at the matchups, it really does say, point to Michigan. But we've talked about this before. The hardest team to project this year has been the Washington Huskies.
Yeah.
My model has had, every model actually, Vegas. Vegas has had Oregon over Washington. They've had Oregon State over Washington. They've had, they
by a lot
Texas
too.
Over
that
Washington.
Oregon, Washington, the spread was what? 10
points.
I
mean, it was like 8.5 to 10 points. Ranging in between there. So it's just truly absurd how the odds that this Washington team and what they've defied, because truthfully, you look at what Vegas has done, they would probably favor Oregon again or Texas again. But truly a team of destiny. And I will say this, I think Kalen DeBoer is the best in-game coach that I've ever seen. And I love how aggressive he is. Like this game will be a battle of the wits on both sides of the ball between Kalen DeBoer and Jim Harbaugh and company. It's going to be awesome. We're going to see, if you are somebody who appreciates the X's and O's in football, you will see that in full-fledged this national championship game. So I am truly excited for that. But just laying out the matchup, we know the stats. Washington offense is better than Michigan offense, but Michigan offense is certainly capable of handling and keeping up. Washington's defense, specifically their run game, is the biggest liability in this game for the Huskies. So if they want to capitalize, I think Washington's going to have to be super aggressive. They're going to have to really like set the tempo in this game. I know that for a football game, that sounds really weird. That sounds like something you only say like in basketball, but they're going to have to set the tempo. You know, I think if they can score and score often and score frequently, they can put the pressure on Michigan because Michigan's not a team that's going to want to run fast.
Yeah, they're going to want to grind it out.
Try and keep up. Exactly. So Washington, team of destiny. I have to roll with the Huskies.
Nice. Yeah.
So tangent here. I picked Michigan and Washington to advance.
We both did.
You would have thought that the world was ending and I was the dumbest human being that ever lived. If you go look at the comments in those videos, my goodness, there's some angry folks out there who like to really try and make themselves feel better in these comments. So I'm taking a victory lap. I'm not somebody that really rubs it in.
I was waiting for that. I was like, I haven't heard that yet. So
screw all of you guys and what you had to say. There was one guy that over there was like, you would be better off doing my taxes with all of your numbers and analytics. Screw you, dog.
Yeah.
Like you're sitting here commenting on my video as I'm winning money.
Yeah.
So eat it, dog. Whatever. So have fun. You know, Bama fan with your sister.
Nice.
Doing what you do. So yeah, I'm sitting on Washington and Michigan tickets with a Washington future. So I'll enjoy myself all I want. Me and my modeling.
Oh, you got a Washington future too?
Yeah. I took one at the middle of the season.
Nice. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, no, I had a Washington future and I had a Texas future, which I was secretly rooting for Texas. But
okay,
here I am. Washington, better odds, more money. We're going to have some fun. So with that being said, I took a gander at the betting splits for this too. 74% of the total bets are on Washington. 74% of the handles on Washington, according to Action Network. There's no discrepancy in those two numbers. I don't really think anything is sort of indicative of anything yet. But truthfully, like, I don't even think it matters at this point because I think Michigan. I think Vegas is hedging themselves at 4.5. Because there are models coming out that are saying Michigan by 10, and there are models coming out saying, pick even, like mine, or Washington by 1 or 2. So I think just looking at kind of taking a consensus against a bunch of people who have respected models and respected projections in this industry, I think Vegas is certainly handling this as more of a hedge on themselves. So I'm not too concerned about the splits. There's also no discrepancy in the money between the total tickets and the handle. And so until we see that, there's really nothing to be concerned about. But I love Washington, man. It's the team of destiny, baby.
Absolutely.
Team of destiny. So I'm kind of willing this into existence. I think it's going to be a 3-point ending, no matter who wins. Obviously, I think Michigan is more probabilistically likely to win by about 5 or 10%. But man, like this game,
it's going to be awesome.
Close. It's going to be close. Oh, I'm so excited.
I know.
All right, man. Hey. Wrapping it up. You got anything else? You just waiting for the game at this point?
I just wanted to say I've had a great year. It's been fun. I'm already looking forward to next year, but until then, we're going to have to just sit back and enjoy, hopefully, what's going to be an amazing national championship.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've enjoyed football for sure. We've found a lot of success. We appreciate you guys watching. We do have college basketball coming. We have 2 new guys who will be running that, as well as Seth and myself.
Yes, sir.
Especially as we head into March. So we will have 2 different tandems going at it for college basketball. Make sure to tune in for that as well. Guys, we appreciate you. We will talk to you later.